Welcome back to our house. Building site, should I say. We're gonna get this guy's floor here poured and finished off. But wait, it wasn't just quite as simple as it looks. Let me just run through some of the things we had to do to get to this stage. The piles that were on site when we got it had to be dug out and exposed and broke away, exposing the rebar. What you're looking at now is the mud mat laid in, some concrete just to help the steel. This is the steel going in, and lots of rebar tied to the piles, and then it needs all formed out, ready for the concrete to be poured and finished off like so. Then the rain came. After a bit of time, we had a swimming pool instead of fountains, but then we got the blocks fitted. As you can see, all the footings built up, ready for the subfloor on the house, and also footings and surfaces put on in the garage. You see some pipework. That was also done in the garage in preparation for services in and out. So the next stage was to put the DPM down. That's the black plastic. I put in 2 sheets of that, and then the engineer said to keep the steel inside the wall, but building control said that was wrong. It had to actually go on top, so I had to readjust everything and redo it all again. So steel was in, steel was out, and steel's back in again, and we're ready for the concrete. Just before the pour, I wanted to get a concrete poker, an Aussie screed bar, and a bolt float. And here we are finally with the actual pour, the moment we've all been waiting for. Time to get the concrete on these steels before I have to rebuy the steels, as they'll rot away into nothing, as one subscriber did point out. But yeah, good shout out to Stonyford for the concrete, as their drivers were excellent help, and thanks again to the 2 mates helped me with this pour, and another friend also helped me tying up the steel when we're doing some drone work in previous videos. And previous to this getting past, ready for the finishing touch. As you can see, I've got the rally boots on, and I've got a lot of raking to do. Was gonna give them a call and ask for a 4th chute to be brought, just to make things a bit easier. But the guy turned up exactly on time, so that wasn't going to happen. Which is funny, because the second load the guy has 4 chutes. But yeah, the idea here is we're just trying to move it along the back wall, and I've made this screed here. As you notice, this big timber lying along the top of the footings. The whole idea is trying to just straighten it from the back to the front, and that'll tamper it off and keep it nice and flush and nice and straight. Again, as most people will know, concrete's a hard game, and big respect to the guys that do it every day. I know that we wouldn't want to be doing it every day. I'll stick to the plastering walls. Again, if you were doing it day in, day out, it probably would get a bit easier, and you'd get more used to them types of muscles being used. But yeah, it is what it is. Have to get it down, have to get it level and flat as possible. But this is a very strong concrete. I think it's 35 Newton, and it's an S3 mix, so slump 3, so it will flow a wee bit. It's 10mm stones, although these do look that wee bit bigger. But so far so good. Just trying to get into the far corner. There is a wee bit of water down on the base of the slab, but as you'll see, once it fills up, we can push the water out of the way, so it won't contaminate the mix too much. But again, not terribly worried. So the idea is we're going to get it all raked out here as even as possible before we start tampering and along this back wall. So the guy just adjusted the lorry for the last drop just to try and get in this corner a wee bit easier. And you can see we've already tampered some off there, and it's starting to look good. Starting to get more like the thing what we want. The whole hope here is there's 2 lorry loads coming, so the whole hope is that this lorry load will do over halfway on the gauge, as I do need a drop to grout the slabs of the main house. The house and the gauge were done slightly different. The gauge was, it could have been based on slabs, but I thought I can concrete it myself, I'll save money. So the design had to be the metal in, and then concrete poured and finished by hand by myself. I'm not sure it has worked out terribly well money wise, as concrete and steel prices are quite expensive. If you do want to hear, if you want me to break down the sort of prices of things and let you know what way it did work out, definitely did save money doing it myself, other than hiring people in to obviously lay the floor. Also, I've done it that thick that I'm able to just hopefully finish this floor in one go, and I don't have to do a top coat to finish it. I think it's on average about 13 to 16 inches thick, so this is one real thick slab. And you can see how the tampering is working. Quite a good tool I made there. I had to make it out of several timbers. As you notice, this gauge is like over 200 inches long, so it's quite a long gauge. Pretty square. I think there's only an inch one way in it. It's not an absolute perfect square, but I think it's literally 1 inch in it. I think it's 201 and 200 the other way. But yeah, the tampering's working in quite nice. There is a couple of wee areas that just need raked up as we go, and I'll just push it in and let the 2 guys just tamper it back in for me again, and get quite a lot of blisters from all this raking. And yeah, it's getting in well. A bit of a shallow up the very top, but just main concern is before the next lorry load comes, I want it to come as quick as possible, but want to get everything as flat as possible, especially along the joint, and make sure there's no high bits for the next one to pour on top of. So now we got everything somewhat level there. Just want to go around it here a little bit with the concrete poker and take out as much air bubbles as possible. Make sure there's no voids. As you can see, the tampering done a pretty good job. It's not dropping anywhere, sinking in, but there is a good lot of air coming out. I'm trying to get this onto the steel so it shakes along a bigger area, and if you do look closely, you can see some bubbles coming up all over the place. So it's definitely was worth the buy. More trying to aim around the corners, sort of hit everywhere, especially on this first mix, as we had a bit of time waiting anyway. So I was able to hit that metal, give it a good shake around, and lift up a good lot of bubbles, and that will make the concrete stronger and more dense and compact. So less chances of cracking. And that's what we're aiming for, the best job possible. So first ever go of the big bull float here from Rambo's Tools. Plenty of length on the handle here. I'm just getting a bit of getting used to it here. It's not quite a speed skim, but it's not far off. Just same idea, just different type of job. But yeah, for the very first go there, it just felt absolutely lovely. Just got the mate there to pull it over for me, as it wasn't just too confident lifting it up and down on myself there. But yeah, it smoothed it in pretty well. Just wanted to give it a quick test, and before the next load came, just make sure everything was going to work the way I had intended and had it in my mind. So we're just waiting on the next pour here for the back part. As you see now, we've been getting it tampered off, and I've given that one bull float, and the bull float's very nice. I think if I was using that for a couple of jobs, I'd be really good with it. But yeah,
just the next pour. I would say we haven't finished. We've only really about a quarter actually levelled off there, but with what it was in there, it's not going to take much more to pour this in now at this stage. We're well underway, but the next one, hopefully in the lorry, it'll be less awkward. He can reverse in that side and get us in a bit tighter. There's a lot of handball in there. I was about to ring them and ask for a fourth chute, and he turned up, so yeah, hopefully this guy has 3 chutes. It will help.
We all had a good laugh here, especially the driver. This guy actually had 4 chutes, so we were laughing. We would have said we would have done the far end with 4 chutes and then did the front with the 3 chutes, but it is what it is. It doesn't matter. Here we go. I'm about to get it all flowed out now, and hopefully a wee bit easier this time, a bit less work with the extra chute, just gives a bit more reach. Just speed it up here for your pleasure, guys, and you can still sort of see what's going on here. Just getting it nice and level here for the tampering. I think this mix was just a wee slight bit tighter, but I personally didn't mind that too much because I'm trying to finish this as one slab. So the first one is starting to cure, it's starting to set. So with this one being a wee bit stiffer, I was thinking to myself I can work it with that ball float and things just that wee bit easier then. So that was the idea. And you know, didn't seem to come off too bad. But yeah, still a lot of handball, a lot of blisters getting made here in the making. But yeah, happy enough. Seems like real good concrete. Again, just trying to really get it as level as possible. Did say, because it's a gauge, it said to everyone, even the mates, was like, I'm not going to be too fussy. But then when you're actually doing it, and the price of the concrete and all, you kind of start to get more and more fussy. The more time you tend to spend on it, and if you remember, there's been a lot of time spent on this floor alone with the doing the steel twice, and then obviously all the compacting it all down and getting it all prepped even before that, and all the hard work went into the bricklaying and the fans, the footings, the whole lot. So yeah, you start to tend to just get that bit more fussy. I was struggling here just at the joint, just to sort of marry it in. Just with the stuff underneath was getting a wee bit stiff. Just trying to work it into itself. But I knew once we get past that point, it would be real easy going then. The next hindrance would be up around the pipes. The pipes, my idea for them is to let the electric in and out for the electric for the gauge itself, and potentially the oil burner can be out there, so that, you know, it's a bit of a source of heat for the gauge, but also somewhere inside, keeping it protected from the elements. Again, it's all sort of thought about during the process. It's not actually down on any plans. Hoping the plumber, a good mate, will sort me out with a bit of a drawings and come up with an idea himself. And again, the same, I'm hoping with the electrician side of things. Got some family that do electrical work, so kind of hoping and praying that together with us all we can come up with a good system all around the whole house that makes sense, and then I can do a lot of the donkey work, and then they can do the brain work of hooking it all up, making it safe, making sure it's done right. But yeah, I'm proud enough of myself with this big piece of timber. It actually stayed apart. The only thing left to do at the end of this job is to take it apart, assemble it, which might be quite awkward because it did have a lot of screws in it, to say the least. But yeah, that's us. We've nearly got the whole slab poured in and tampered off, and then the job that we're going to do then is just filling in all the cracks on the actual house itself. The mix and Newton of this stone is the exact same that's down for the plans to fill in. Again, these stones be tiny bit tad big, but yeah.
That's the whole slab in, tampered off. We did have one wee bit there at the joint. just about there. I just had to get on and screed it off at the wee level. You see the water coming out of this. Out of the glove. That's sweat. But yeah, so just gonna hit this joint one more quick ball float, and then just let the whole slab just sit a wee minute before I actually hit it. And then the two mates are on the big slab. They're gonna grade away at it and trowel it in just so it's easy later on. There's no trip hazards or anything, and obviously it needs, all the end joints need graded in anyway. I'll give you a wee quick look at that too.
So here man with the first actual proper ball float, and just letting the tool do the work and concentrating mostly on the joint here, as that was the area we struggled with tampering, and like I said there, had to actually get onto the slab there and just give it a good Aussie screed just at that point there with a passed. That was the wee bit of a problem area there, just with it being stiff, maybe a wee bit too high, maybe should have raked it down a wee bit lower just to get a finer crisper joint. But it is what it is, it's in now, and it's all about just trying to flatten it all in here. And what do you think, guys? How am I getting on with it? It's definitely bringing up a lot of cream, a lot of liquid up to the surface, which is, and to me, it's going to be good for making a nice finished surface. Again, I know there's lots of professionals at this concrete, much better than myself, and much more experienced, obviously. But I would like to say that the way this floor's already sitting is, it would be for subfloor standard, that would be brilliant if we were left that. But most times on site, the subfloor it's absolutely horrendous. It's literally poured in. There's been no trowel work or no level work. It's literally just been poured in and maybe hammered off and walked away. I've seen some real bad floors on site where there really are trip hazards, especially for us plasters and walking around with wheelbarrows, with buckets, any tradesman really carrying things, even bits of concrete stone sticking up. They can lead to a bad trip. But I've seen floors that just dip way down in corners and things. I know it's only a subfloor, it's the undercoat, and it is going to get finished with a screed on site, but you would like them just to take a wee bit more time and get it a bit more sensible and a bit more safer for the next guys coming. Just a bit more pride in the work really with it. But yeah, ball floating it 2 directions, and the reason for that is, on concrete, if you keep going the one direction, you'll actually create a wee hill, a wee mound, a wee bump, or you'll create several of them if you keep going the same way. So once you go 2 different directions, you correct itself. You'll hit it that way and then you hit it the other way, so you'll find that it corrects itself much more. It's kind of the same way when we straighten walls. We'll pull it up, guys, and then we'll pull it across. If you go 2 directions, you're getting it straight both ways, and you won't have any hooks or bumps or dips. So that's the idea here. I'm going with this ball float, and I'm going to speed up the last wee bit. Let's just get a wee quick look at that. Just when you are finished up, guys, with any concreting tools, trowels, floats, that you always remember to wash them up. It's actually quite a warm day today, so definitely want to make sure that you stay on top of the cleaning. That's why we wet this slab here on the house, just try and stop any suction so it wasn't going to pull in too much. But this is the job ahead, filling all the joints and making sure to get them all sealed in, and really just filling the voids. I don't think these slabs are ever really going to move too much to the weight of them, but this will help. And you see how it's done, just scraping it in, and anywhere it doesn't fall in, we're just tampering it down with the actual shovel itself, just so it's well compact. And again, I will rush around and clean it all up at the very end of the day. And the wee edge protectors work the treat, stopping it falling out onto the footings. I don't want the bricklayer coming and shouting that I've made a mess of his walls. But yeah, some of them getting a quick swipe in. It's not greatly important, but I just want to make sure there's no high stones, like I said earlier, no trippers, as I will be the unfortunate guy to be running about this slab on a pair of stilts. I don't want to be tripping over and landing face first into the concrete. So the idea is keep it nice and flat, nice and smooth, and that way even the next stage is going to be even better. The next stage, when it comes to the actual floor, will be again DPMs in and then insulation, or vice versa, insulation and then DPMs. I think some guys do, they'll do top and bottom. They'll maybe put plastic, insulation, plastic, but I think I might do plastic and insulation. Again, I don't think it particularly matters what way you go, as long as they're both in is the main job, guys. Back again with the ball float, and it's definitely picking up nicely now, and I find I can leave the angle up a wee bit more, especially on this first side where it's a wee bit further on, about a couple of hours further on. But yeah, still getting used to the ball float. Sort of found it was a bit easier to walk with it, other than just feed it up the arms. But the problem with that is space. Obviously, look at the length of that pole. 4 poles on it. I think each one's 6 foot long. So if you just want to work that out, you can go ahead. Let me know in the comments if you got there. But yeah, I have all that length plus my own arms if I really did need it. But don't really need it. And again, the problem was when I was walking backwards, there's the odd rock and the odd breeze block left that could really trip me up. So we're going to want to avoid that as much as possible. And the whole aim of this game is just get it as flat as early as possible, and make the next leveling stage that bit easier. Well, the next finishing stage. My intention was to completely finish it with the ball float. Obviously, this is a new tool, so not maybe 100% broken and just perfect for finishing just yet. But I do find it's doing quite a good job. Not only was it helping flatten it in and finish it somewhat, it was kind of making it a bit more flatter, and I was able to in some areas manipulate a bit more cement into any wee hollows or dips that I did see. But like I said, I wasn't going to be too fussy with this floor, and I was planning on just sort of just ball floating it and leave it at that, as long as there's no big ridges or anything. It's just a garage floor. But we'll see how it turns out anyway. But I can say that I do end up trailing it up. So you can let me know what you think on how well it came in. So on to what would be the last ball float. It's maybe the 3rd or 4th pass at this stage, and you can see this stuff's really rightly on now. So I'm really just trying to get some of them lines flattened down. If you look around the edges, I've kind of given it all a trowel in, just a bit of a feel, and I was quite happy with the way it was trowel. It was quite nice, but I just thought I don't want to get onto the slab at this stage. I don't want to be putting any weight on it, so I just figured, I may as well just use the ball float and try and drag a few of them lines on out at this stage. And I was still at this stage, wasn't just quite sure if I wanted to even get on the slab and polish it all in and trowel it. But I think, the further on I went with it, the more fussy I tended to get. But yeah, I do think this ball float is a cracker. I do think that if I didn't, obviously I was back and forward from helping the guys doing the grouting in the house on the slabs. I still had another 10 wheelbars left. It kind of made a bit of a base for the oil tank, just at the back right corner there if you look. But yeah, so if I hadn't had to do that, and I could have just kept continuously ball floating it and catching it as it was picking up, I think this floor would have finished with the ball float alone. But again, that's the same as plastering, guys. It's all about the timing, and it's quite a warm day, and with this depth of concrete, I imagine the heat of itself picking up underneath is setting it even quicker with just the heat of the day as well. But let me know your thoughts on the tools and the methods all used, guys. There is a soap block around the edge, which, as far as I know, needs removed, and that's actually going to be the cavity. But instead of using forms, just used soap block, and the builder was able to build that nice and level. And believe it or not, anywhere we did put that Aussie level, left, right angles, it was coming up nice and plumb. So he done a hell of a good job getting it all prepped for us that way and making the forms around the edge. So that will need knocked off, but thankfully I do have plastic up around it, so there's no mad rush to top them off straight away, as they will release quite easily.
Right guys, eating a sweet here. Haven't actually stopped yet. Gonna get something to eat, but I ended up putting boards down, just polished it all up, and it looks pretty well. You can actually see a big bit drying out there. That was actually where the joint was, with the first load and then second load. Second load looks bigger, but it wasn't, because the first load obviously poured down onto the mesh, and then of course all the house done here. I'm gonna quickly give it all another quick hose and a brush down, and then when that floor turns a bit more white on the gauge, I'm gonna just give it a wee mist. Getting attacked by flies today. I'm gonna give it another mist coat just to slow down the setting process and cool it down a wee bit. That's the plan anyway, as long as it doesn't rain. If it rains, I'll not bother doing that. But yeah, so that's the first thing of the house finished, is the floor. Obviously fans are finished and stuff like, but that's an actual finished thing. I might paint it in the future, and if any companies think that they have really good product, they can let me know. But yeah, pretty impressed with it myself. I'll give you a wee close up, see what you think. But it seems pretty level. When we put the water on it, it just sits still. It doesn't run anywhere. It just sits exactly where it's been sprayed. But yeah, pretty happy. And again, the services there. Probably be the oil burner and electric in and out. And I had a wee bit left over, so I started a bit of a slab here to put the oil tank on. Again, I'll probably need to concrete saw that, tidy it up, as it's a bit messy. Didn't think there was going to be that much left over after we grouted the whole house, but there was, so put it to a bit of use anyway. Again, this is just an undercoat really. I'll cement flags on, or blocks and flags up, so that the oil tank's sitting raised higher, and the oil's, there's plenty of pressure pushing along the pipe into the gauge there for the burner. But yeah guys, let me know what you think. Again, just knocked that big thing up there, the shutter off. The teammates just shuttered it off for me, and I was raking all the low spots in, and then give it the ball float used. And around some areas I had to get in with just there, and there was a wee spot up around there I had to get in with the wee Aussie screed bar, And then just for polishing up, just use the big Spear and Jackson floor trowel for polishing up. Also polished a couple of ones in the house, but it was taking quite a long time, so most of that's done with a shovel. And actually used this big flooring float, as you can see, it's quite big. Big Refina one. Used that in some places because it was jumping from there to there. There was parts where we're setting up a bit, so didn't really get lots of time on it. But yeah, I'll wrap it up here and hope you enjoyed this one. I'm sure glad the floor's in and done.